Welcome to the Park and Recreation Commission regular meeting this Wednesday evening, November 1st, 2023. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Giovanna, please call the roll.
I would be happy to, Chair. We do have Commissioner Witcher, who has an excused absence due to his attendance in the City Services Academy. Commissioner Trapp?
Present.
Commissioner Kiabi? Vice Chair Wolnick?
Present.
Chair Fields?
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Excellent. Good evening and welcome. We are holding meetings in hybrid mode. Information on how to provide public comment is explained at the bottom of each published agenda. For those attending in person, complete a yellow request to speak slip and submit it to the recording secretary, just over here. If participating remotely, use the raised hand feature in Zoom and you will be called on at the appropriate time. Phone-in participation can be done by calling 408-638-0968 with the conference ID 893-8965-1819, passcode 339026. Press star 9 to raise your hand to be called on and star 6 to unmute from the phone. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. First, a fun one, a ceremonial item. For Commissioner Lindsay Held, in recognition for her service on the Parks and Recreation Commission, we have a certificate of recognition for Lindsay. Where did she go? There she is. Excellent. So we'll have Lindsay come up and I'll read this beautiful certificate that all of you can see here. It says, the San Mateo Park and Recreation Commission hereby presents this certificate of deep appreciation to Lindsay Held. In appreciation for her years of service as a volunteer commissioner for the city of San Mateo, Lindsay first became a Park and Recreation Commissioner in 2013, which somehow is 10 years ago, but had to step down when her family moved to the East Coast. Upon returning to San Mateo, her dedication for this community compelled her to become a commissioner again. Through the years, she has demonstrated a deep caring for this community and a desire to give back. She has been a difference maker in this community and will be missed. Thank you. Presented on behalf of the San Mateo Park and Recreation Commission on this, the first day of November 2023. And I'll just add, as a personal privilege, Commissioner Held has been a wonderful influence for me when I first joined this commission, and I know that I speak for our other commissioners in saying she will be missed, and her presence was deeply felt, and I just want to say personally thank you. And with that, we say goodbye to one and hello to another. And so I would like to welcome and introduce Regina Trapp and invite her to say a few words about herself, if she so chooses.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, I am Regina Trapp, and I live in the San Mateo, Foster City for over 13 years with my lovely husband, Bill. We are former members of CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, if you are not familiar with that, and we have served as our neighborhood watch captains for over 10 years. And facilitating our amazing Super Quad National Night Out celebrations, and they're pretty epic, so if you ever get a chance to come by and see those, they're pretty fun. My husband Bill and I are avid bikers and runners and have enjoyed the wonderful trails and parks and celebrations of this city and this county and this commission for the years that we've been here. And so we are honored, I am honored to be able to help steward that forward and bring a diverse and varied experience to the commission. And thank you for this honor, and I hope to serve you in this community honorably. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Trapp, and we're looking forward to working with you on the commission. Next on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the commission at this time. State law prevents us from taking action on any matter that is not on the agenda. However, your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. Public comment is limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, an opportunity for additional public comment may be provided later in the agenda. And one more note. We welcome speakers providing public comment, but please be advised this is a limited public forum. As such, speakers must stay on topic. If speaking to a particular agenda item and if speaking during general public comment, they must address matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City of San Mateo. If speakers fail to follow these rules, they will be warned, and if they continue to disregard our rules, their opportunity to speak will be ended. At this point, I will ask Giovanna, are there any public comments for this comment period?
We do have one member virtually with their hands raised. Helen, if you can please unmute yourself.
And she can have up to 3 minutes for public comment.
I'm actually here to comment on the tree. So I'm planning to speak later when the agenda items were raised, the tree item.
Okay, very good. That will be later in the agenda. Thank you, Helen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments for this comment period? This is for non-agendized items. Do we have any slips?
We do not have any slips or any raised hands.
Excellent. And with that, I will close this public comment period. And with that, we go into our public hearing, which I imagine is why many of you are here. This is item number 2, heritage tree removal.
Through the chair?
No, yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
We do have consent calendar as well.
Oh, yes. I really wanted to keep moving along, didn't I? All right, very good. So with that, I will ask if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar, which has one item, which is the Park and Rec Commission meeting minutes from our September meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will move.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Excellent. With that, Giovanna, call the roll.
Happy to, Chair Fields. Commissioner Trapp?
Abstain.
Commissioner Chiappi?
Vote in favor.
Vice Chair Wolnick?
Aye.
Chair Fields?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion has passed.
Excellent. And now we will move on to the public hearing. Item number 2, heritage tree removal appeal hearing located at the Woodlake Condominiums, which has a main site address of 900 Peninsula Avenue. I've been thinking about the White House too much, apparently. So now I'll go back to this script. We will start off with a staff presentation, followed by commissioner questions to staff, and as well as the applicant, or the appellant. We will then open the public hearing in the following order. 1, the appellant for 15 minutes. 2, if present, the applicant for 15 minutes. 3, individual speakers, that's public comment. 4, the appellant rebuttal for 5 minutes. 5, the applicant rebuttal for 5 minutes. 6, the staff rebuttal. Hopefully everyone understood all of that. We can revisit if necessary. We will then close public comment, we will then close public hearing, allow for response by staff for questions and concerns if warranted. This item will finish with commission discussion, deliberation, and a commission vote. Please note that any person that addressed the commission during one of the 15-minute periods may not speak again during the public comment period for individual speakers on this appeal. So you get one chance to speak during the public comment. We may need clarification on some of these rules as we move forward, and staff is here to help us. With that, I will hand it over to Matthew Freed, our city arborist, for a staff presentation. Please bear with us while we sort out our technology. They don't teach PowerPoint in arborist school, I guess. Mostly trees.
All right, here we are. So I'm Matthew Freed. I'm the managing arborist, and I'm going to walk you through a brief history of the application to remove some privet trees, some protected privet trees in the Wood Lake Association neighborhood. I'm going to start just by giving a very broad overview of the application process and where the Park and Recreation Commission sits in the sort of chain of appeals. So we get an application to remove one or more protected trees, and then I, the managing arborist, render a decision on that application based on the criteria in our protected trees ordinance. My decision is appealable by anybody, any member of the public, for a period of 10 days. If my decision is appealed, the director reviews the appeal and looks at all of the facts, visits the tree, and makes a decision whether or not to uphold my decision or overturn my decision. The director's decision can then be appealed within 10 days by any member of the public. And the director's decision, the appeal of the director's decision, is heard by you all, the Park and Recreation Commission. So that yellow highlighted area is where we are this evening. And the decision that you make this evening is further appealable to the City Council. The City Council's decision is final. Just to get oriented geographically, that yellow star in the center of the screen is where these trees are located in San Mateo. Slightly closer view of the community. The trees are within the larger grove that's inside that yellow circle. And the 2 trees that we are discussing tonight are among a grove of 20 trees. And that's a picture of it there looking from the east. So on May 8th, the Wood Lake Association applied to remove all 20 trees, hoping to replant with newer, younger trees, and they had some safety concerns about the trees. On June 21, I denied that application to remove the trees because I didn't have enough information to agree with the finding that the trees were, posed unreasonable risk, nor did I concur that they were unsightly, which was, something that was mentioned in the application and in an initial arborist report that we received. So this is the grove of 20. We are here tonight to discuss 2 of these 20 trees. After I denied the initial permit, we received a second report from Wood Lake Association's arborist. This report was much more thorough and detailed, and their arborist rated 4 of the 20 trees as high risk. And she used a process that is the best management practice process for evaluating and communicating tree risk, in our industry. And after receiving that report, the Wood Lake Association appealed my decision to the director, still requesting that all 20 trees be removed. There was some information, some discussion in that second arborist report about why they should all be removed, en masse instead of just the 4, et cetera. But at this point, I don't think that's particularly germane. This is looking from the west, southwest. The trees that are numbered there are the 2 trees that we are discussing this evening, 40 and 41. And on July 19th, at my request, I had a meeting with the author of these arborist reports, with Wood Lake's arborist, to review these trees in the field, Even some of the 4 that were rated as high risk, I wasn't sure. I wanted clarification on that. So in reviewing them together, we agreed that 2 of those 4 could be mitigated to below high risk through some pruning work. They're in the back of the grove. They're not part of this appeal or part of this evening's presentation. So these are the 2 that had remaining high risk, and that there's some more views of them. And then after reviewing all of the arborist reports and visiting the trees, the director upheld my denial of 18 of them, but decided based on their condition and their low potential viability after mitigation to approve the removal of 2 of the trees, and that would be trees number 40 and 41. It's hard to see fully from the pictures, but they have considerably thinner canopy than the rest of the trees in the grove. They have like large swaths of just dead wood and decayed parts on them. They're, in my opinion, in very poor condition. And then this is just the entire timeline of events restated here. So we are here this evening to the Park and Rec Commission is here this evening to hear this appeal and to make a decision about whether or not to permit the removal of 2 privet trees, number 40 and 41, or to deny the removal of the 2 privet trees, numbers 40 and 41. That concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you, Matt, for that excellent timeline and presentation. We will now have time for commissioners to ask questions. I will begin with, to my left, Commissioner Kaipe. Do you have any questions for staff?
Not at this time.
Excellent, thank you. Vice Chair Walnick, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to ask about when you're looking at the tree condition, are we thinking also about like the high wind occasional storms that we have that knock down so many trees? When you're making the assessment about the safety of the trees?
For the two trees that are the subject of this appeal?
Not for those 2 specifically, because the recommendation was to take them down, or that it was okay to remove them, right? From you.
No, that actually came from the director. So I
okay.
denied all of them.
I see.
The
Okay.
director approved 2 of them, and then tonight you all are deciding whether to uphold or overturn the director's decision about the 2 trees.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So that's what when you're looking at the trees in general, are you also thinking about like those not random, but like not often occurring huge windstorms that we have?
Sure, but if this is just a general question about how I approach trees, I mean, yeah, we do. However, the events like we had last winter with crazy high winds and rains, in a lot of cases, all bets are off when the weather's that abnormal. So, but yes, it's considered among other factors.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for me.
Commissioner Trapp, any questions?
Yes. Could you go back to your picture where you have the image of the 2 trees with the border? Yes. Oh, no, the previous one. Yeah, thank you. So based on your opinion, you said there's no need to remove these trees, maybe some pruning, but the director said maybe these 2 trees should go. So you just mentioned, and by looking at this photo, if you go all the way up to the top, you said the canopy of these are very thin compared. So in your expert opinion, would any type of pruning or grooming of these two to kind of get them a little bit, not top-heavy or just kind of maybe a little bit cleaner, as part of your decision for not cutting down the two trees? Is that kind of taken from your expert opinion?
Well, I want to separate two things. So the first is my initial decision to deny the removal.
Wasn't.
Admittedly, this is my fault. I didn't parse out these individual trees. I looked at the requests for all of them and I bucketized it and thought, I'm not seeing it. After my decision was made, we received an arborist report with considerably more detail calling my attention to those particular trees. That information was also available when the director made her decision.
Okay.
So I'm not necessarily of the opinion that these trees just need a haircut and will be, on their way to great health.
Yeah.
You could certainly cut away some of the dead parts. I think part of what went into the director's decision was what you'll be left with by the time you're done is not going to be much.
Okay. That was my only question for that one.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I think I had similar questions to Commissioner Trapp. I'm curious, if these trees 40 and 41 are removed, will you end up with essentially like an aesthetically displeasing tree landscape? Or do these trees take a long time to grow? If you replanted something similar, would there sort of be a gap in this landscaping? I'm trying to think of it from the perspective of the condo association rather than just trees. I mean, you're the arborist, but maybe you can help us kind of understand if these trees were removed and then replaced by younger trees, would there be sort of a gap in the canopy more so than what's already there?
So certainly, if these two trees do receive permits for removal and they're cut at ground level, yeah, there's a little bit of symmetry there. There's a design issue to deal with.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
It's unfortunate that they're at the end of the grove. It'd probably be easier. They'd blend in better if they were scattered in the middle. When they come out, it's just not a reasonable solution to replant in the same spot, hoping to achieve continuity with the existing grove. There might be some options to change the arrangement of the entrance and the pathway so that the sides of it looks like it was intended for those trees on the side to be the side. I'm not sure, but certainly it's a design challenge.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. Then my other question then is, like, knowing what you know today, would you recommend the removal of these trees?
Again, to clarify, I don't feel like I've ever recommended the removal of the trees. And I don't think that's my place.
Okay.
It is my place to make a determination about whether to grant a permit based on whether the trees meet the conditions for removal, the criteria for removal in alignment with the protected trees ordinance. When I look at those two trees in person and in photos, they meet it to me. They meet the condition, the criteria in that they are in poor or very poor condition. They don't have good expected longevity on the site. And so if you're an applicant coming to me for a permit, you would get it for those trees.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I would come to you if I saw those trees and say, hey, you better get a permit or you better remove those trees. But if you're asking to remove the trees in coordination with our ordinance, they meet it. They meet the ordinance, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. With that, that concludes commissioner questions, and I will introduce the appellant, David Rubinson from the Woodlake Neighbors Group, and you have 15 minutes for your presentation.
I have a hoarse voice, as you can tell. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. We're here, I'm here, to join with you to save 2 heritage trees, which have been there for 80 years, which are part of a landscape plan that is known throughout the country and actually part of the world. The design was by a man who's perhaps the most famous landscape designer America has ever produced, Lawrence Halpern. These trees actually predate the building of Woodlake. And there are problems with them. I'm the same age as the trees. There are problems with me too. But I don't want to be cut down. I want to see what I can do to help myself, to ameliorate the problem, to do something about it. And I want to join with you so that we can help the problem and not cut them down. To go back just for one moment, we know the heritage and the significance of these trees and Lawrence Halpern. There are articles written about him all over the world. And I can show them to you here, but I don't think we have time. But this is a famous man. And what he built in the Circle of Trees and the rest of the community has been written about numerous times. It's famous. It's beautiful. And our job together is to do everything we can to preserve them. Are there problems with them? Yes. Our job is to find a way to preserve them, not to cut them down. In that regard, they qualify as protected trees. They're heritage trees. The San Mateo, they call them, the provisions in the City of San Mateo regulations, ordinances, has a section on protected trees. It's very long. But it says one important thing. The law is the law, the regulations are regulations. This is what it says. Any person who owns, controls, has custody, or possession of any real property within the city shall use reasonable efforts to maintain and preserve all protected trees located thereon in a state of good health, structure, and form, pursuant to the provisions of this chapter. The Woodlake Association did not do this, still not doing this, never did it. The earth around these trees is like this, and they put gravel on top. They have never put mulch. They have never composted. It's never watered. It's a mess. And we maintain that all it needs is some care. How will we tell? We give it some time and we see. But to just cut it down without looking, without giving it a chance, there is no hazard. They're not going to fall over on somebody. They've been up there another 6 months since this whole thing started. There's been wind, there's been rain, no problem. This is a way we can share to bring these trees back. In February 2022, the board of the Woodlake Association had a plan to cut down the trees. They never mentioned it to anybody. They got rid of the landscape committee that they were supposed to consult, booted them out, formed a new board, and brought this back again February 23. They made a decision in February 23 without a report from an arborist, because that's what they wanted to do. Then they hired the arborist, who gave them, forgive me, an arborist report made to order. Now, Dusty is a very nice woman, but she's not in the league with your chief arborist. And she's not in the league with our chief arborist, who's been doing this 30 years, teaches at Berkeley, and has a famous reputation. Matthew even knows it. Her report is thorough, but inexperienced. The decision was made before they even had an arborist report. So they applied on May 8th. It was turned down. Matthew very wisely said, "No, I don't think so. No 20 trees." And he was right, and we supported him. But when we found out about this, the community came together, galvanized, and wrote letters and emails. Sorry, Joanne. Inundated people with emails and letters. Please, these trees are really important to us. Don't cut them down. This was on June 22nd, the denial came through. And I've just found out for the first time that on June 26th, there was a second arborist report. The Homeowners Association never bothered to give us a copy of that. They never even told us it existed. I just found out that there was a meeting with Matthew and Dusty, the arborist for the Homeowners Association. It's not right. We should be consulted. We should be involved. And that's what we're fighting for. Oh my goodness, I only have 8 minutes. That's not possible. I have 13. Oh, okay. So what I'm here to present to you is our arborist, who's a famous guy, who teaches at Berkeley, who's known all over the state, Michael Young. We had him come out, and he came out at Matthew's suggestion, and he said, no, all these trees can be saved, and these 2 trees can be saved. And he has a program for how to do it. The problem is timing. Ms. Mangrini wrote her opinion to remove the 2 trees before she saw our arborist report. The timing was wrong. She sent us a letter on the 21st of June. Our arborist report was on the 23rd of June. She never saw that report. So our recommendation to take down the trees was done very honestly, but it didn't have the information. We've now supplied the information, and we've supplied additional information. He came out again and he did a special report just on the 2 trees in question. And he said, these trees have not received any care. There's no maintenance been done. The earth is in terrible shape. There's no watering program, no compost, no mulch, no fertilizer. And we can save these trees. Now, this is not somebody who's been doing this a year and a half, like the what is that? This is not someone who's been doing it a year and a half, like the arborist for the Wood Lake Association. Somebody has been doing it his whole life, and he's a student of Halper. They can be saved, he said. And now Ms. Mangrini knows this is his opinion. Had she known it before, perhaps her opinion would have been different. So, what does he tell us to do? He says, these, quote, these privets with proper care should be able to endure another 10 to 20 years. Regarding the 2 trees, the arborist for the association says it's dangerous and a hazard to cut only 2 trees. And this is a really important point. You can't cut just 2 trees. It's dangerous and a hazard. I'll quote, it's in your packet, but I'll quote for you, what happens to 1 tree will have a, this is the arborist for them, for the association, when you cut down 2 trees, removal of any of the subject trees will require grinding of the stumps. The grinding of the stumps will damage the roots of the remaining trees, creating a hazardous situation as tree failure can happen with little or no warning and significant root damage. Can't cut 2 trees without consequences. This is not my arborist. This is the association arborist. It must be considered. No 20 trees, okay. You want to cut 2? Not a great idea. But we say, let's try to fix the situation. Let's not just cut. Let's not do away with the trees. In the information that I supplied after Ms. McGreeny's opinion, I supplied our arborist report number 2. And he said that the mitigation for the trees is absolutely possible. And here's the program. Cut no trees. Conduct professional trimming, cutting, and pruning, especially the most endangered, meaning the 2, done by an experienced professional, not Dusty Rushing, who's been doing this 1.5 years. After removal, he wants to, and he's done this before, apply cable and wires to the most vulnerable branches so they won't fall over and hit somebody. It should be done by a professional. Immediately remove all that gravel that they put on the ground, which is harming the trees. Replace it with mulch. Replace it with compost. Put it in a watering system. Institute immediate professional maintenance, which has been completely lacking for 10 years. Mulch, watering, compost, fertilizer. They never even fertilize the trees. They haven't received care. They're in violation of that protected tree covenant in your rules. And then we cut, we prune, we put cable, we put wires, we fertilize, we compost, we put mulch, and we see what happens. Not going to be a hazard because he's going to put in cables to hold the branches up. And we check it out. Now, you've seen pictures of the trees. They don't look great. But we have new pictures of the trees. You've got to show it to me. That were taken yesterday. Enormous change, new growth, big fat leaves on the canopies. Why? Because there's been water. Because they've been treated by nature with water and they're getting healthy. They're here. I just got them. They look really good. I'm not saying they're not in trouble. I'm not saying there's not a problem. I'm not saying they shouldn't be handled by a professional. But I'm saying give them a chance. They're trying to live. I will give you copies of these pictures. They have a chance to live. Don't cut them down. That's what we're here to say. And you can be partners together with us. Let's save them. Let's not kill them. Thank you.
With a whole minute to spare, thank you. Do we have a James Sherman from the Woodlake Association present? Do we? No, okay. So I will say thank you to David for your presentation.
Through the chair,
Yes.
James has just joined virtually.
Aha. Okay, so if everyone remembers from when I listed out the order of everything, we just had the 15-minute presentation from the appellant. Thank you very much. Yes, you may. We will now have a 15-minute presentation from the applicant of one Mr. James Sherman from the Woodlake Association. He also gets 15 minutes.
Hello?
James, if you could please unmute yourself.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
you hear
we can
me?
hear you. Yes, we can hear
Great.
you.
I will state that I was interested in this topic, having been a member of the association, but I'm not currently the president of the association and not on the board of directors. My term ended, but I was going to speak, so I will use this opportunity to state my position as it was when we made the application, if that's okay.
Sorry, we need to confer with the city attorney. We were under the impression you were representing the association, the applicant.
I'm no longer on the board, so I wouldn't be able to do that in a formal capacity, but again, I would
Okay,
like
then
to
hold on.
speak.
Then you will be invited to speak during public comment.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, then I'm hearing then, let me just confirm with the director and our associate city attorney that then there isn't someone here representing the applicant. Is that correct? One moment, please. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I will take this time to remind everyone, if you wish to speak during public comment on this item or anything else, it's really only this item, please fill out a yellow slip. I imagine you probably already have, but if you haven't, now's a great time to do that.
Sorry about that. The packet was very robust. We received a written public comment from the applicant, so that's, oh yeah, submitted by Stephen Brindle. It was part of the additional comments that were added after the packet was published.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Magrini, for that. So with that, we will now move on to the third step in this public hearing, which is for public comment. Giovanna, can you tell me how many slips you've received?
We have 3 in-person speakers.
And can I also ask if anyone is interested in speaking on this item from the virtual space? Please raise your hand. Now is the time to raise your hand. I think 3 minutes per public comment is fine. So let's start with the folks here in person, and then we will go to our virtual commenters. And it'll be 3 minutes. It'll be very obvious when your 3 minutes is up. But I will also just say, when the reminder, if you are on Zoom, please use the raise your hand button, and you will unmute when it's your turn to speak. Like I said, we will take members of the public wishing to make comment on this item in person first. And let's go for it. Thank you so much, Giovanna.
Thank you, Chair Fields. We have in order Donna Claytor, and then if I can have Don and Priya please stand to the side.
Hello. I would ask that the commission would deny the decision to destroy the 2 privet trees in the circle of trees at Wood Lake Condominiums in San Mateo. I believe this decision is completely unnecessary, as the original request for the permit to cut the whole of the circle of privets was denied by the City of San Mateo's managing arborist, Matthew Freed. The decision to not cut down any trees has also been corroborated by a third-party arborist, Michael P. Young, who's an award-winning tree preservationist and a leading expert in the Bay Area's unique landscapes. Both arborists have agreed that all the privet trees were in fair health and fair structure, and with proper techniques of care, the whole of the privet circle should be able to endure for another 10 to 20 years minimum and are worth retention. I quote Mr. Young, "The privets are quite beautiful for their species and add a sense of drama to the site. They are special. Lastly, and most important, is the opinion of the management company's arborist regarding cutting down just 1 or 2 trees. She states, after so many years growing so close together, roots will be intertwined, and so removal of one will affect those near it. So the cutting down of 2 privets will actually kill the whole grove of privets. The Woodlake community has been given a great gift from the renowned landscape architecture and artist Lawrence Halprin. And with this tremendous gift comes a responsibility to maintain the existing trees and preserve his forward vision of an urban forest. By allowing the dissemination of these trees, we would be relinquishing our duty to protect and preserve this scenic beauty. Our community responsibility is to rehabilitate and utilize proper care and husbandry of these heritage trees, and for that matter, all the trees at Woodlake. And as David was saying, those trees, I took a picture of them yesterday, they are so resilient. They're coming back, there's buds growing, and it just needs care. It needs somebody that knows what they're doing to care for these trees. And that's what Woodlake wants. That's what the Woodlake residents want. That's what the people who walk through our area, because there's public access and you walk through, you see people coming off the street because they're attracted by the trees. They're attracted by this landscape that's so unique. And it's just, it would be a pity to cut these down and replace them with something that doesn't even belong to the vision that was originally made for this. So I ask you to contemplate this seriously. Thank you.
Don, you're up next.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time and the attention to look at this issue. This is very significant for the 900 people or 900 units that are in this Woodlake. The trees are in the center of all the condominiums, and so it offers kind of a gathering place for kids to play, and weddings have taken place, and so it's very special to us. And I've been a Woodlake resident for about 7 years. I chatted with people over those 7 years, and nothing has brought all of us together in the same way as the potential removal of these trees. There's now 130 people that are on a committee to kind of save the trees and look at other issues. So this is a heartfelt issue for everybody. And I want to just mention, Jack Cornfield said everything that has a beginning has an end. And these trees are in their senior years, as I am. And I look to expert advice for prolonging, enhancing, making my life worthwhile and to continue. And I think David has done a nice job of summarizing what the arborist has said that can be done to prolong the lives of these trees. There's no immediate rush that they're going to fall down. And to repeat one thing David said, Mr. Young said the trees have 10 to 20 more years. Well, I hope my experts tell me I have 10 to 20 more years by following their advice. And I think Joanne McGreeny may have been swayed. This decision, for the dates to cutting them down was months ago. And when it was denied by your arborist, then they ran around and put some yellow tape around the trees. And I thought that was very much a manipulation and something that was not correct. So I would just ask you to consider the experts, the people who have been in the business, your own expert initial report, and give the trees a try. We can go about instituting a remedial program that was outlined by David and look at them carefully. And everybody's going to be looking at them. They're not going to be falling down, and they're not going to present a danger to others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we can have Priya up next. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a first-time home buyer. The circle of trees is one of the reasons I purchased my condo. I feel so privileged to be part of this community. The people are wonderful, and we just live in such a special place. We live in a park. It's beautiful. everyone's kind of said the same thing, but I just wanted to give you a feel of, as a resident, these are really, really important to us. If we could be given a time frame to see if these trees can bounce back with proper care and maintenance, we would really appreciate the chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Fields, we do have 2 members of the public virtually,
Excellent.
James Sherman and Janet Langer. Janet, you'll be the last speaker.
Hi,
James?
this is James Sherman. Can you hear me? This is James Sherman.
Yes,
Can you
we
hear
can
me?
hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Great. So I was the president of the HOA at the time that this decision was, or the application was presented. And I was also on the landscape committee for a number of years before that. So I'm very familiar with the circle of trees. It is a signature feature of Wood Lake, and I'm pro circle of trees. The number one concern of a homeowner association is always going to be safety. And I'm glad that wind and weather was mentioned, because with climate change, that's only going to increase. So we had a lot of damage throughout the association from a lot of tree falls and limb falls over the winter. So that's always our number one concern. Lawrence Halprin was an outstanding designer of our landscape at Wood Lake, although he was not involved with the circle of trees. That predates his work by 20 years. It was a feature of the College of San Mateo. And the trees are about 80 years old, as was mentioned, and the lifespan of privets is much less than that. I've seen references online to maybe 40 years. So, it's just coming to that time. And I want to maintain the signature feature, and we want to maintain. That's why the board decided it's time to remove them all. And I know that David Rubenstein mentioned removing a couple would be a problem. And that's one of the reasons. It was also brought up by one of the directors that to maintain that great circle of trees, you got to do it all. You got to do them all at the same time. So that was how that decision evolved. And the trees had declined over the years, and they're beyond their expected life. So that was how the decision was brought about. And we were going to replant with trees from the city's approved list. Fuller grown trees, so you'd have a quicker growing canopy to give it a really consistent, contiguous circle of trees to maintain that feature. And again, the notion that those trees do not pose a hazard is just not accurate based on the facts that have been presented here. And all of this was brought before the homeowner association in open forum for a year ahead of when we were actually moving forward with permits. This was talked about, it was in our newsletters, so residents were not, really paying attention until the sign went up. So I just wanted to clear the record on that one, but thank you for your hearing of this matter this evening. That's it.
Thank you. Up next, we have Janet and Chair Fields. Before Janet comes on, I do want to let you know we had 2 other members of the public raise their hands.
Let's hear what they have to say.
Okay, great. Janet, if you can please unmute yourself.
Okay, hi. First of all, I want to say the trees that they were going to replace were these purple locust trees that completely changed the design that this whole award-winning landscape setup had been done. The leaves are not, they can be poisonous to dogs. They were not a suitable choice to change things over. And I wanted to say I do not want anything cut down. I want to support what everyone has said before. And I also want to point out that James Sherman, he sold his unit and he moved out. So he's no longer a resident of Wood Lake. I don't know if he has any rental units, but he no longer lives here. So I just wanted to mention that. But the flowers that the trees that they were going to replace were not suitable. They were completely a different thing, changing the whole dynamic of the place. And they say poison could be poisonous to animals, which there are many dogs here. That's it.
Thank you. Up next, we have Nancy. Nancy, if you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Nancy Bush, and I have been an owner of a condo here at Woodlake for about 8 years. And I think it was about June 16th that we received all the owners received a letter from the Homeowners Association and Common Interest Management, who manages the property, stating that the grove of trees, the circle of trees was going to be cut down, and we had 2 weeks to comment on this. It got everyone talking, and people were quite upset by this because, unlike what James Sherman has indicated, that this was under public comment for a year, people were taken by surprise by this decision to remove these trees. Not only that, but the decision was made during James Sherman's term as president, which was a year ago. And during that time, the trees have been surviving. And yes, these 2 final trees aren't in great condition. However, the trees haven't fallen down, nor have 1,000 other trees that seem to be on the property. So it got a lot of us banding together. And now, while I think that David said we have 130 people in our Woodlake Neighbors group, we're up about 150 people. Most of those people have been primarily involved because of the issue with the circle of trees. And I don't know if you received, there are some petitions that were signed, as well as some other additional emails that I didn't see in the comments regarding this. But it looks like the decision to cut down the trees was made last year during James's term. However, the report from the arborist wasn't issued until May 8th, and that's the day the permit request was made. So it seems like the decision was made without an arborist report by the board, and it seems that the residents weren't even notified until June and only given 2 weeks to comment on it. So my true hope is that you'll give us a chance to try and save these 2 trees. Evidently, the tree roots grow vertically instead of don't grow vertically like typical roots of trees. They grow more horizontally. So taking these 2 trees out could eventually affect all of the circle of trees. And it's really been a place that's a sanctuary where there have been weddings and memorial services and just all kinds of gatherings. People, every day you see people in there just sitting on the benches in that circle of trees. And the trees, if they were really that dangerous, why did the yellow caution tape just go up and after we requested that the trees be saved? So anyway, please consider our feelings on this, and hopefully you'll be able to.
Thank you, Nancy. That's your time. Thank you.
Chair Fields, up next we have Helen. Helen, if you can please unmute yourself.
And is Helen the last speaker?
That will be the last speaker.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I'm amazed at this distress over these 80-year-old trees that really had nothing to do with Lawrence Halpern's specific design for Woodlake, since they were already here. I ran into the Berkeley arborist at one point down by the circle of trees, and he was flexible on the issue of whether they would be removed or not. I'd like to see us put in new trees and take good care of the new trees. It seems like a lot of people would enjoy seeing trees with 1 trunk instead of these hedge shrubs or trees that have 3 or 4 trunks. Change is a normal part of existence, and death is a normal part. And so I am supporting very strongly removing the existing trees. I've found also that, privet trees and hedges have a long lifespan and can live 20 to 40 years, and these are maybe 80 years old. So I'm a Woodlake resident and a member of the Woodlake Neighbors community. The main information I found looking at my emails about privet was 3 emails about the March 2022 meeting. So my interest in trees and knowledge about trees started before I was an adult, because I'm the granddaughter of Howard McMinn, a distinguished botany professor at Mills College, the author of Illustrated Manual of Pacific Coast Trees, Illustrated Manual of Pacific Coast Shrubs, and other books. The Howard McMinn manzanita was named after him, and it's one of the featured plants at the California Water Service Company location on North Delaware. There's a picture of it on the sign with various plants. So yes, let's have something new. Heaven's sakes, let's have change. We're way overdue for change on these antique privet trees. And they predated Lawrence Halpern. I Googled Lawrence Halpern and privet, and I don't know, there are a couple sites. It was very hard to find that. It was not a natural combination. There were a couple sites that were listed as suspicious, and a couple of them in non-Roman alphabet. And so I don't see any evidence that Lawrence Halpern had anything to do with the circle of trees. We'll still have the wonderful circle, and we'll be able to enjoy it. It'll be wonderful. We'll have trees with single trunks and greenery that's down closer to us. So I'm hoping for that, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I will continue to live here regardless. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. And with that, we will close public comment. And this means we are now at the phase where the appellant gets 5 minutes for a rebuttal. So David, is it Rubinson? Is that your last name? Yes. Okay, very good. So you get a 5-minute rebuttal. I'll let you sort yourself out for a moment.
Look, I just want to repeat that we have, and we're going to submit to you the photos of the trees taken yesterday. And they're fine. They have second growth. The canopies are growing. The leaves are growing. And they're getting better because they've been cared for, but by nature, not by some maintenance company. You water them, they'll be okay. You feed them, they'll be okay. If there are weak branches, you shore them up, you put cable, you put some wires that will hold them up so they won't fall. They're not going to fall. What we have to do is we have to give them a little time before we kill them. Now, just to say about James Sherman, he's an old member of the old board of directors, and I don't understand his standing here today, but I will tell you that I'm holding a notice from the board of their meeting of February 2022, where they were cutting down the trees. They never mentioned it to us. No one ever heard of it. His maintenance that we were informed is completely wrong. They then had a new board when he was not there anymore. And the new board went ahead with this plan. They never told us. They never consulted the community. It was only this public notice on June 16th that said, hello, we're cutting down all the trees. If you don't like it, call Matthew Freed. That's what this says. That's not consulting the community. And we felt we had no voice. There was reference to the petitions that were sent in on June 16th. This is a copy of all the people in the community who signed petitions that were sent to Ms. Magrini. Please don't cut down our trees. Give us a chance to save them. That's the voice of the community. And I know that we can do that together. You can give us the space and the chance to save them. Don't cut them down because of some quick decision made or a decision that there's no chance for mitigation. Our arborist, who's a really well-known guy, says there is. And even Matthew isn't saying, cut them down. He's saying, well, you know, if I had to make a decision, but he's not adamant about this. And he's been really helpful to us, by the way. Don't cut them down. Give them a chance. One thing I would beg you to do is not just give us the chance, but when trees are taken down, I'm sorry, as in Ms. Magrini decision, you mandate what the community, what the association has to do. You say, we'll let you cut down these trees, but you got to replace them with this tree or that tree. And I'm asking you to follow that logic and mandate that the homeowners association has to maintain them, has to fix them, has to institute a program, and can't just let them die. In the same spirit that you say, put these trees in to replace them, I'm begging you, give them a mandate and say, you have to live up to what the San Mateo Code says, maintain care for the trees. Don't just say, okay, we won't cut them down and let them be ruined like the others have been. It's the same idea. As far as expense is concerned, they're going to save thousands of dollars in not removing these trees. That money should be mandated to go for maintenance, care, fertilizer, and so on. And it'll save them a lot of money while it's done. The other point, and I only have 40 seconds, we don't say cut them all down at once, because our arborist has a plan which has been sent in to do one or two at a time and to plant trees behind the ones that are going to be removed so they have a chance to grow. You cut a tree down, it's a big hole. What we want to do is plant trees behind them so they have a chance to grow and replace the ones if and when they get removed. It makes perfect sense. Thank you. Please help us save the trees.
Thank you, Mr. Rubinson. With that, I call on staff. Several members of our staff their names have been evoked. I think several questions have come up. So I'm going to call on staff if any staff member wishes to give any kind of rebuttal or clarification of any of the information provided during the presentation period. Anybody? You don't have to, but you can.
I don't have anything in particular to rebut, but I am available to answer any questions you may have that help you in making a decision.
And Director Magrini, any comments?
Nope, not at this time.
Excellent. Anything from our city attorney? No. Okay, very good. So with that, I will bring it back to the commission for discussion and eventually a motion. And just to remind everyone, the vote that takes place here tonight, we will be voting on either upholding or overturning the approval of this permit. And the applicant can appeal that decision that we make tonight to the city council. And the city council's vote is the final vote. Although if no one appeals, then our vote will be the final vote. So with that, I will ask for comments. I will go as the same order as I did last time. So Commissioner Kaipi, do you have any comments you would like to make at this time? Very good. We will come back to you. Vice Chair Wolnick, any comments or points to clarify? You can say no.
There's some things here that we just can't really see, right? The pictures of the new growth, and I don't really know. I don't think I'm allowed to ask questions of, am I allowed to ask questions of the appellant?
I'm told we do have some new growth pictures, although they are black and white in our packet. So I'm going to point them out to Vice Chair Wolnick.
Thank you. This is exactly what I was looking for, because I was going to ask if it was one of those two trees, and it clearly is. So,
thank you.
I don't have any comments. I don't have any comments about this.
Then Commissioner Trapp, any comments?
No, Oh, I always say no, then I speak. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
Thank you to everyone who's presented this evening. Thank you to everyone who's presented their opinions on it. I did read kind of thoroughly through the packet, so I don't have any further questions on everyone's comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaibe?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Matthew for his presentation and also thank everybody here who's spoken. It's certainly a very delicate issue. And first of all, I would like to say that I feel like I don't have enough information. I would have liked to ask questions to the applicant. But that being said, I think it's very evident that these trees are highly valued by the community. The pictures really look very beautiful, and I think we all know the value of trees. Having lived in an apartment, I know what having a tree close by does, especially if you're not having like a single home and you're in an apartment. I certainly understand the attachment to the trees and the value they bring and the sense of community they have created. But I also see that given that the trees are high risk, there is a risk of harm. So the safety issue is something that we cannot take lightly. I think it's something that we have to bear in mind. The trees, it's been stated that trees are over 80 years old. Private trees, life expectancy, looking at sources on the internet, 30 to 40 years, so certainly there is some risk. And moreover, we've also had that cutting of the 2 trees will affect the rest of the trees, so suddenly all the trees will probably, ultimately be affected. So it's an issue that is delicate. While I appreciate that the community really values the trees and the beauty is very evident. We all love trees, they act as windbreakers, they provide shade, but at the same time, we cannot rule out that we also have to put into consideration the safety of the residents and the people that use the area where the trees are. So that's my comment for now.
Thank you. Excellent. I'm wondering if I can ask a question of our Assistant City Attorney. It's you. Excellent. So my question is, if we decide to overturn and allow the trees to stay, how long, let's say, in a hypothetical, if the trees, they don't fare so well in the next, several months, year, at what point could the HOA or some group come back and say, we gave the trees a good try, but it's not working out?
Madam Chair, that's a fair question.
Thank you.
Our ordinance actually does not contemplate that. I think in a situation like that, I don't think it's unreasonable for there to be another permit application.
Okay. But I guess my question is I don't want us to be doing this every other meeting, but I also want, is it just sort of we'll know it when we see it reasonable timeline, or you're saying there isn't specific guidance around a timeline?
Right. I think that's difficult. Again, all hypotheticals, but that's up to really the owner of the property, the HOA. If there are severe health, public safety issues, I'd imagine that's up to them. It's not up to the city to continually monitor the health of the trees. That's not really the role. The application here is about simply removing them, and that's what the city's role is, whether to grant it or deny it.
Okay. Thank you. That was somewhat helpful. Okay, I want to say something because I'm sitting here. I'm familiar with this condo association. It's very large, 900 units. It sounds like this is some unsolicited advice, but I feel the need to make a comment about it. It sounds like you could use some more transparency in your governance broadly, and I hope that you're able to find it. You know, it is a beautiful community. I've visited several friends who've lived in that condo complex. It's really beautiful, and I think it complements our wonderful parks, which I, as chair of this commission, think are the gem of our city. Yeah. So with that, I will ask if anyone has a motion that they would like for this commission to entertain.
As the newbie. Please let me know if I say this correctly. I move to make a decision, the council to make a decision on whether or not we approve the.
Just pick a side.
Oh, just pick a side? Oh, just pick a side. That's my motion.
No. You need to.
Oh, because that.
Your motion needs to.
Pick. Okay.
Uphold.
Okay. So I make a motion to overturn the director's decision.
Excellent. And do I have a second?
I second.
Very good. So this is a motion to overturn the director's decision. So that would be, just for the sake of clarity, to keep the trees. So with that, that's the motion. Giovanna, will you call the roll?
I would be happy to, Chair Fields. Commissioner Trapp?
To overturn.
Vice Chair Wolnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Kiapi?
Aye.
Chair Fields?
Aye.
The motion to overturn the appeal has passed.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our commission.
Madam
and really
Chair,
thank you.
may I just clarify?
Yes.
I wanted to make sure Giovanna phrased it correctly.
Yep.
It was a motion to overturn the director's decision to keep trees 40 and 41, and therefore grant the appeal.
No,
I
the other way around.
apologize. Yes, that is
Yeah,
correct. I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
To overturn the director's position.
Right, because she was saying, yes, it was to keep the trees. Correct. To overturn the director's decision, which was to remove the trees. Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's clear for the record.
We need a logic puzzle to diagram it all out, but I'm confident in what my fellow commissioners just voted for. That's why I restated it. Okay. Yes? Good? Fantastic. Really, I was just starting to say thank you to everyone who participated this evening. I know this is not the most glamorous part of local government. I'm not sure what is, but it means a lot, I think, to all of us. I will say thank you personally for coming out and being part of your community and speaking up and participating in the city of San Mateo. So thank you. And with that, we move on to reports and announcements. Are there any reports or announcements?
Thank you. I have a couple of announcements for this meeting today that I'll go through quickly. We are working on our Shoreview Skate Park upgrades, and I just wanted to give a brief update to the commission. We recently had a survey with over 60 respondents to determine interests around improvements, and we also had an in-person outreach meeting at Shoreview Park last week where several members showed up to further discuss the improvements. And so our design consultant is working on the options for consideration, and we'll be bringing those options to the community via another round of feedback. So we will keep you posted on the timeline associated to that. Also wanted to give an update to this group on pickleball, and wanted to just address some of the striping that's been upgraded at Central Park. So we had 3 of our 6 tennis courts have received additional pickleball striping. We also have striping at Los Prados and Joinville tennis courts. The striping is on one of each of those two courts at those locations. We also have drop-in hours at the San Mateo High School gym on Sundays from 10 to 1. And we're currently conducting a survey for the striping at Beresford. We have a resurfacing project happening out there. And so we are conducting a survey that will be up through November to determine what type of striping will occur at that location. And then after our Shoreview Skate Park project is through its outreach, we will be doing an outreach for dedicated pickleball courts at the Shoreview Park area. So if anyone's interested in getting on our pickleball newsletter, please feel free to email us. We can get you on the distribution list. Jen Wilson, one of our rec supervisors, sends that out. Just a couple other items. San Mateo on ice. The ice rink is being constructed currently out at Fitzgerald Field at Central Park. And so that field is closed through November. And our dog off leash hours are affected in the morning time until that is done. But our ice rink will be operational starting November 10th until January 7th. So we're very excited about that in coordination with our Winter Wonderland holiday event, which will be happening on Saturday, December 2nd from 5 to 7 at Central Park. And two last updates. Sorry about this. I know it's a little long. Two youth commissioners, the interview for our two youth commissioners, the interviews have been conducted, and City Council will be taking official action on that, on the appointments at the November 6th meeting. So that is exciting news. And then I wanted to just bring to everyone's attention, sorry, I'm speeding through everything.
No, it's okay. Can you just, for our two new commissioners, give a little background on the youth commissioners?
Yes. So the city of San Mateo, the city council had directed that youth commissioners be considered for a potential commission, and Park and Recreation Commission was chosen as the pilot program. And so we will have two youth commissioners joining our commission. They are ex officio, so they will not be voting members. They will not affect quorum, but they will be joining us to give their input and feedback on items on our agendas.
And they'll be somewhere between 14 and 17.
I think it was 13 and 17, something like that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So very excited about that. And then last but not least, just wanted to throw this out there because Vice Chair Walnick brought it to our attention after the fact last time. Wanted to let you guys know that our next commission meetings are December 6th and January 4th. So if you can let us know if you're going to be out of town or unavailable on either of those dates, it would be helpful in our planning for our next commission meetings. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive. And I will also just add that the ice skating in Central Park is really lovely. For anyone still here with us, I encourage you all to put on some skates. And with that, I will say, do any of my commissioners have any announcements? It's looking like no, excellent. And with that, I will ask, can I get a motion to adjourn? I always ask for that.
I'll move to adjourn.
Excellent. And a second. Very good. And I don't think we need to vote on this, but I will say at 8:23, we are adjourned.